On today's episode, things get a little savage with Calvin Savage of the Chicago Tigers. This is At The Crease, the show which takes you behind the scenes of the Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship presented by Sunoco. Thanks a lot for joining me, Calvin. How's everything?
Yeah, all good. Thank you. We just cricket's going really well, which I'm really enjoying, and we've just brought home our daughter, our second child, a couple of weeks ago. So newborn baby in the house, along with my 3-year-old son. So it's been really good times.
Yeah, I happened to notice that on your Instagram. Congrats on the birth of your baby daughter. What is the joy of being a father for you?
No, it's been awesome. I remember when my son was born, I was a little bit younger, a bit immature, and I wasn't able to handle life as well with a baby and cricket and that. Now as I've matured a lot, and obviously I've been a dad for a lot longer, my cricket's actually just thrived since she's been born. My stress levels of having to be in dad and all of that, with being a little bit older, as I said, I'm playing some of my best cricket and I've really enjoyed it. My family life here definitely makes my cricket life so much better because they just make my life away from the game so much easier and less stressful. So when I go on the field, it's just all cricket, and then off the field, my life is just really good. So that makes things so much easier for me.
Now, you mentioned that your cricket is thriving, and it's true because we've been seeing your performances in this minor league season. But before we get to talking about the minor league, I couldn't help but notice that when you posted that photo on Instagram, you also had cricket showing on the screen in that photo. But by chance, can you remember what match you were watching?
Is that the one where I was holding my daughter?
You were holding your daughter, yeah.
She was still in the NICU then. I was watching. I was unlucky. She was born over the weekend when the Tigers went and played 3 games in Houston. So that was a big loss for me not to be able to go there. I think I was watching. It could have been the Silicon Valley Strikers game. I think I was watching intently because we were actually flying at a stage.
Uh,
Facing over 200 is never easy. You have a slight little slump in your batting order, then the rate shoots through to 15. But I know Marcus and Sai Charan were looking so good there. So that's what I was watching. I checked the scorecard and we were like 100 after 10 overs. And I was like, this is on. And that's why I popped it on quickly while I was in the NICU there, holding her, watching her, and giving her a bit of a feed.
It's so interesting. Is like, you know what? Is like cricket kind of like consumes you in a way at some point. But where did it all begin for you? Like, what's your first cricket memory?
Um, I've been told what my first bit of cricket was. Cricket was always the number one. Like, it was weird. Since I was 3 or 4 years old, it was always cricket. I always played and enjoyed lots of sports and excelled at them, but cricket was always the number one that I had the most joy from. I think every other sport I loved playing and didn't really enjoy practicing that much, but cricket is the game that I loved practicing just as much as playing in that. And when I'm playing well, there's literally nothing in the world that gives me more joy than when I'm out there and I'm playing well. And if I'm in a pressure situation and things go my way, the euphoria I get after the game is like, it's different level. But I recall the first memory is my parents buying me like full kits, so pads, bats, gloves, and everything. And my dad built a cricket net in the back home. Put a slab of cement down, and we put Astra on it, and he built nets around it slowly. And I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I started playing hardball, and I was playing like under 10 when I was 8 years old, and it just took off from there. I was always one of the better and the taller kids in my class, and it kind of just took off from there. And yeah, and then I was just obsessed. I think I trained my dad. I owe so much to him. I mean, he had to get like tennis elbow surgery and everything after, because luckily I went to boarding school. Otherwise, his elbow would have had a couple surgeries. I think he threw to me outside of like winter. In South Africa, winter's really good anyway, but I would take like a 3-month break from playing. 9 months of the year, every single day, 7 days a week, for at least half an hour to 40 minutes, every day he'd throw to me. And I would bowl to him. So it's literally all down to him. For 7 years, he was my one and only coach. A little bit of private one-on-ones there, but he was the guy who really took me to the level of where I was able to get a scholarship to go to a boarding school, which propelled me to being where I was.
It was interesting that you mentioned that developmental phase, but coming through, you also had a period whereby you were not too certain if cricket would continue for you because you had a major injury. Just tell me a bit about that.
So I broke my coracoid process. I think my anatomy is not too good. It's a little bone that connects your bicep muscle to your shoulder. It's like the connector. So I think I strained my bicep, and the doctor said one of two things was going to happen. Either you're going to tear your bicep, and I snapped that bone in half. So one of the two were going to happen. I wish it was the bicep that tore, not the bone that broke. So it broke, and then it's in a very precarious spot. So the specialist said, I think we should let it try heal naturally, because I didn't want to go in. There's lots of nerves in and around that area. And that took a long time to come back. I think I was only bowling very slowly after 7 or 8 months. And then I remember the first ball that I went full tilt at 100% was like after 10 months. And the exact same thing happened. It broke again. So I think they said that between the bone, some fibrous tissue had grown. So it wasn't a clean stitching of bone on bone. There was a light, fine little tether of tissue in between the bones. So that just broke again. It was very weak. So then went back to the surgeon, and then they put some screws in there. So at least now, luckily at the back of my mind, I know it can't break again. So that's the good side of it. But yeah, that was a tough 18 months. I remember when it happened, it broke. Lance Klusen was my coach at the time. I remember I was in tears. I was like, and I was just starting to go in the direction of hopefully pushing towards the South African team when I was 21, and that not necessarily knocking on the door, but I had a good start to my season, and I was doing really well. And I was so lucky. The Dolphins at the time, the CEO Jesse Chellen and Lance Klusen, who were the coaches, they backed me for 18 months. I didn't lose my contract or anything. They still re-signed me, even though didn't get any cricket out of me for 18 months, and they still looked after me, which was a huge boost. But then, yeah, after that had happened, it was a bit of a struggle. I just didn't really get back to where I'd wanted to be for quite a few years, and it was like quite an uphill struggle in South Africa, to be honest. I think the best thing that happened was last year I went to the Cobras. I left the Dolphins, went to the Cobras, and I got to work with Vernon Philander for a season. And he kind of helped me understand my bowling action and different mechanics about bowling. So I kind of always just bowled and went with my raw talents and all that. I sort of understood the basics. I didn't understand in depth on how bowling actually worked. So I think that move and working with him set me in good stead to come here, where I could actually work on things myself. Because I think coming to the US, if I was young, 21 years old, I could have fallen away very quickly, because you're training on your own a lot of the time. You don't really understand your game at all. Well, luckily now I understand my game. I know how to better myself. I understand the mechanics of how everything works, and that's helped a hell of a lot. I've made a few changes this year that I hadn't made in South Africa, and they've paid off massively with regards to bowling, big time.
You mentioned a bit about that transition from South Africa over now to the States, and you're playing in my league. How challenging was it making that kind of a move?
Yeah, it was very difficult. Cricket-wise, it was very difficult. Family-wise, we really enjoyed it. It was exciting and that. But cricket-wise, I really struggled in the beginning because my season ended in South Africa. I stopped playing in like February 2021. Mm-hmm. Then I was meant to come for minor league last year, and then I got stuck in South Africa because I couldn't get a visa meeting because of COVID. So from February, and then I only managed to get a visa meeting in Mauritius in November. So we had to fly to Mauritius, spend a week there, then come over to the US. And obviously I live in Chicago, so it's the middle of winter. So I'm only training indoors, so not a lot of cricket. I was lucky enough to get 1 or 2 club games in Houston in January and February. But then I only played another turf game, I think in like end of March. So it'd been 14 months where I hadn't played any real cricket, to be honest. And it didn't help. Just before I got you, I played 1 game in South Africa and broke my hand as well. So things weren't really going my way. So I'd barely played any cricket. So I took a while to get going again. A lot of training, and even in the beginning, the first couple MLC games, for the first 3 or 4 months, I still wasn't really the player I wanted to be. My bowling started to take the right turn, but my batting, I felt literally like a number 11. Where previously I always found batting sometimes a little bit easier than bowling, and I really struggled with the bat. But obviously now playing a lot more consistently, and there's so much cricket to be played, just you're playing all the time. That's helped a lot. So finally I've settled in. There was a little moment where I'm like, I hope I can get back to the cricketer that I was. But I think I've become a better cricketer, and I'm definitely a better product of myself than I have been in the past. So I'm very chuffed.
but we're certainly seeing the signs of that from the performances that you're having here in the minor league. What's it like being now with the Chicago Tigers?
Been amazing. I know it's a new team, new ownership. I wasn't involved with Chicago at all last year. I know they had a bit of a rough time. They didn't win one game out of 14. I don't think they had all their players available either, from what I saw on the score sheet, on the scorecards and that. Because I played a little bit of club cricket just before the minor league, but we kind of had to pick the team, and I'd never played a game in Chicago or met anyone, so I had to trust a lot of the ownership and the selectors and that on what their hunches were. And I watched a bit of the trials and that, but it's hard to just judge a guy just on a net.
Yeah.
So then I played a bit of club cricket here, and the standard was of a higher standard than what I would have expected, to be honest. They're very like smart and canny cricketers with understanding how to use their conditions to their advantage. I think we still have a long way to go with becoming good cricketers on turf. But Astro cricket and all of that, the guys have got a hell of a lot of talent on Astro and that, and there's no reason they can't transfer that onto turf, because it's still a game of cricket. But we model our team on just having an unbelievable team culture and looking after our team values and that. And even when we're struggling, we always go back to our team values, having unbelievable management who back me to make a lot of decisions with how we're gonna, the direction we want to take the team in, and they kind of let me do my thing. They often will talk about things, and we come to an agreement very easily. There's no pushback or anything. They let me do my job and push the team in the right direction. And our coach is also unbelievable. We got Anand Tumala as our coach, who's also got my back 100%. And him and I work really, really well together. He's so good because he's not like a coach telling guys how to play and everything. He kind of just looks after the team environment, make sure everyone's in a good space, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think I put our success down to some talent, but I definitely think we've beaten some teams that have got more talent on paper than us. But I just think our team culture and value and the way we try and play the game, and the way that just as I said, as we play the game and the values that we play with, I think that is what is setting us apart right now to be in a position that we are with possibly making the playoffs. I think that's played a massive role.
Yeah, you certainly are in a good position. I think it's about 6 wins and 3 losses that you guys have had so far. You're second right now in your division. What do you probably see then as some of the tougher teams to face in this year's minor league?
Yeah, so I wasn't in Houston, so obviously Silicon Valley, we played against them. They're not in our conference, but that was our cross-pool game, and they're obviously the champions from last year, and they're looking really good again this year. I saw the Houston Hurricanes. They got a very good team on paper that have struggled a little bit, but I think when they turn it on, they're going to definitely be a difficult team to beat. So I kind of looked at the log, and if they turn it on the back end, yeah, they're still within a shot if they play some good cricket. Obviously, the Dallas Mustangs are at the top. They're looking very good. I was very chuffed with our win against them. I think that was a massive feather in our cap to beat them as easily as we did. I think we played a really good game that day and showed that we wouldn't stand down to be. That's like our number one thing. I always say, I don't care how big the name is and how small of a name you think you've got. If they're going to punch you, you got to punch back and always be in the fight the whole time. And that's what we showed in that game, coming up against a bit of a powerhouse team. And our team that has got a lot of amateurs and a couple of pros, and we stood up so well in that game. And then obviously St. Louis and Michigan are both really good teams that are also pushing for second spot against us. So I think there's a lot of good teams in the central competition that are. I don't think there's ever going to be 2 teams that run away with it. I think every year going forward, there's always going to be a lot of competition for that first and second spot in the Central Conference.
Talking about the St. Louis Americans, you had a fantastic performance against them. I think it was 4 for 9 that you got against them, but then you also had a 49 off 17 versus Chicago Blasters. Which felt better for you?
Probably the bowling one, to be honest. I'm a little bit of I'm a bowling all-rounder, and I can bat a bit and I enjoy my batting. But when I'm bowling really well and I'm on top of things, that's the best feeling in the world to me. If I'm having a great game and I'm bowling really well and I feel like I'm all over the batter, that's 100% the number one in my book. If I scored 100 or I got a fifer, I would take the fifer. Even though batting, I'll enjoy the batting, but if I'm having a great game and I'm bowling really well and I feel like I'm all over the batter, that's 100% the number one in my book. If I scored 100 or I got a fifer, I would take the fifer. Even though batting, I enjoy the batting, but being in great form and bowling really well, I absolutely love it.
All right, so we're coming to the end of our chat. I've been thoroughly enjoying it. 2 questions to go. What are some of the personal targets that you set for yourself for this minor league season?
Yeah, I wrote a few down. I don't try go into too much depth with how many actual wickets I get. I try to keep it as a process. So economy is really important to me, because if I keep my economy down, wickets will naturally follow. If the wickets don't come and my economy's down, I'm still doing a good job. I know, like in T20 cricket, I can't afford to go 12 and over and then get wickets because they're still flying. If I'm going, I had a goal of going under 6, and I'm comfortably doing that around now, so I'm very, very chuffed. And I think we got 15 games in the season. I'm only going to play 12. So if I said if I got 1.5 wickets per game, so that's like 18 wickets, I'd be chuffed with that. As long as my economy's under 6, I would be very chuffed with that. And then on the batting side, I wanted to average over 30, which I've been doing. Luckily, a couple of not outs helps a lot as well. But more so on the batting side, I bat in a position at 5 or 6 there where I want to finish games for my team, whether we're batting first, like I did with the Blasters, finish with a flurry at the end, or St. Louis, where I also went well, or Michigan now, where I finished the game and won the game. That's the kind of role that I want to have within the team. If I don't necessarily have to have the most runs in the team, but I want to be finishing the game and batting in those last 5 overs. If I'm the guy at the end there, then that's definitely the role I want to play.
All right, well, Calvin, this season we've added a small component that we've not been telling anybody about. It's called a talent show. Now, do you have any hidden talents currently?
To be honest, all my talents are just within sport, to be honest. I love playing golf. I'm not unbelievable, but I play a lot of golf. I'll tell you one talent I have in the US, because no one here really has it. Okay, so in South Africa, so in the US they call it a barbecue. In South Africa, we call it a bra. Okay, so a lot of the people here, they'll barbecue on gas or smoke it and that. So we'll get the grill out, and we always use charcoal. And we'll have a bra. So no one here ever bras, so putting on a bra, so different types of meat, steak, lamb chops, all that kind of stuff, and making a really good bra. That's a talent that I definitely think in Chicago, I'll definitely be along at the top of the list, because I don't think many people can bra. Yeah, I got a South African pro. I used to live with Marcus Ackerman in South Africa. So he's the captain of the Dolphins, and I got him over as our wild card. And he's one of my really good mates. So he's staying in the house with us for the summer while we're playing together. And we braaiing at least twice a week. After, like, every weekend, we get the brown, get some salad, bit of pasta salad, some good meat, some garlic bread. It's awesome. I absolutely love it.
I'm going to have to take a flight over to Chicago, because I need to at least taste, because the pictures, are going to help me, see what is going down, but the taste.
Yeah, it's really good. That's good stuff.
Well, Calvin, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Your form has been amazing, and hopefully it can continue. So just all the best continuing with the Tigers this season.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Joel. It's great meeting you.